Hi friends, I wanted to pop on here real quick and just tell you what we're doing today. Usually I'm doing extremely complicated layered cards, and today I wanted to take it a step easier. I'm feeling the summer vibes and I wanted to create a card that looks like it was so complicated, but it's not. I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek of it. Boop. Okay, this card looks like it's hand painted on the background. It's got a fluffy cow and it's amazing. So make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the video so we can go through this fun, easy card and get some things accomplished this summer without taking too much of your pool time. All right, this is part of a video hop, which means it's part of a giveaway. To be entered in that giveaway, you will need to put the emoji that you will hear me say later in the video. The reason for that is because when we're doing these video hops, it really helps the creators if you will let the video play for the entire time if you hit the like and subscribe button. If you don't do that, it's very hard on our channel and hard for us to continue doing video hops. So just a little FYI, let's jump right into this video and look at how to make a super easy card that looks very complicated. So we're going to start with the lovely Layers cow. It is so cute, and it has two cow options. These are die cuts, but they're pretty, in the scheme of die cuts, they're pretty simple in their layering. We're also going to use the freebie here that comes with a certain purchase order. This has got lots of different backgrounds, and I'm going to use some of these to create some easy embossing folder cards in my next video, so stay tuned. This has a couple of different scenes like this where you can have a hand-painted watercolor background. At least that's what it looks like. It's actually just printed paper. But we're going to use some things like that. We're going to use a couple of different colors of cardstock, and then we're going to use a really cool, almost like suede texture cardstock. This came in one of the Your Paper Insider boxes, and it's just a nice, I was like, what am I going to use this kind of mushroomy color for? But it makes the perfect fluffy cow. It is a little difficult to work with, so I'm going to show you some tips and tricks. We'll start by cutting out the layers. When you do this first cow layer, you get not only the cow, but you get its tail and its back feet. So if you're wondering what in the world those other little pieces are, it gives you a lot of cuts with just one of the die cuts. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but this is pretty flimsy paper, and calling it paper may not be exactly the right word. It's more like a piece of fabric. It's like a piece of suede fabric. So it does curl up and cause problems. So what I did is I grabbed a white, heavier cardstock, and I went on and die cut the same pieces out of the white cardstock just to help support that fabric-y paper. So I'm going to glue the fabric paper to this just to give it a little bit more heftiness and make it easier to support the die cuts that are going to go on top of it. A quick tip to help save your sanity. If you are going to be doing one of these layered die cuts, whether it's this cow, which really only has a few layers, or something way more extensive, make sure you print out the layering guide. These are on the Honeybee Stamps website. You can print them out. You could save the PDF. I like to print them out and then store them. I kind of fold it up and store it in the back of my dies so that I can use it later. And I do usually print it out in color because it helps me see those different layers. Then I go along my die cuts and I pick out the pieces that match the cow that I'm working on. And a lot of times I actually lay them on this piece of paper where they go. So I make sure I have all the pieces that I need. This helps you figure out what colors you're going to use, and also just helps you keep organized on these pieces. So I know that little floof that goes on the top of his head needs to also be the same furry material, and I can use a scrap to cut that out. So most of the time when you're doing layered die cuts, you're picking different colors. A lot of this needs to be the furry material. So what I'm going to do is a little hint to change that color to make it have more dimension. I am going to use a regular piece for the, it's called Evening Gray, and it's very similar to these colors. I'm going to use a piece of that. It's an Altenew cardstock for the horns. You're only going to see parts of the horns, and I'm going to use it for part of the nose as well. Be so careful with these little bitty pieces. I use a little triangle tray or you just something that you can put the teeny little pieces in and you will have them for later. So I'm careful when I take this off. And then a lot of times I grab something to include these small pieces so that I can find them later. And you may need some tweezers, you may need one of the like little wax pickup tools to get them in your tray, but you will thank me later that you have all of your pieces together and haven't lost one on your desk. Next, let's talk about details that make your die cuts stand out. You'll see that I'm taking a very dark brown and I'm using it on the white piece that's going to go behind my die cuts. Why am I doing that? Why am I adding it to the edges? Because I want a simple way to create this depth that you will see. And I want to make sure that if a little part of this pokes out behind my die cut, that it will have an edge that is darker. So it kind of just helps you with the shadowing effect, but it also helps you if you don't place your die cuts exactly right. To add this more fabric-y piece, which is that suede piece, see how it kind of curls up? I'm going to use glue. You could use something like a tape runner, but glue gives me the freedom to make sure I've got this lined up as much as possible, especially with something this important. I'm trying to make sure that I line it up really nicely with the background. So I use that glue and I usually pick up my piece and try to kind of make sure the edges all fit, especially on those little horns. You got to be real careful and just use your fingers. Make sure you got it lined up with the edges. You're not seeing too much of the background sticking out. Like I said, I did color the background so that if I'm off ever so slightly, hopefully you won't see anything but a little bit darker outline. And then with this, because it's fabric, you really got to press down on it and make sure you've got it sealed everywhere. I'm going to put an acrylic block on the top once I feel like I've got it to where I need to make sure to hold those pieces down because the fabric wants to curl up. So when you set it down, just make sure set it on a flat place and add that acrylic block to it. Then I'll repeat this process with the legs, which are little tiny pieces, but I'm going to add them to the white background that we added the brown outline to. And then I'm going to get them lined up and put them under this acrylic block so that it holds them down. All right, so right now we've got all of these pieces being held flat and they're all the same color. So I'm going to finish up this little leg, put him under the acrylic block, but all these pieces are the same color. And if you love honeybee die cuts or you do die cuts, you know that you like to have different levels of color. Now we've got the face and the horns, parts of it that have a different color, but I really want to add some dimension to this little guy and hopefully make him stand out. So I used lava rock, which is an Altenew color. The reason I picked this color is because it was just the closest brown I had to this piece of suede. And I'm going to add this to the edges and I'm going to create darker legs. So these legs that we cut out are behind the cow. So they're made to be darker. So when you're looking at a die cut, a lot of times it will show you in the colored piece which parts should be darker, which parts should be lighter. And it's kind of thinking about making it look even more 3D. So like in this cow, if you assume that the light is hitting the front of the cow, then the legs that are behind, so the two legs behind, are going to be more in a shadow. And it'll show you that on the die cut cutout so that you can do this more easily. But I know I need to make my legs darker or I'm going to get a real flat look. So the other thing that I do a lot of times is create that spotlight look. So if you're hitting this cow directly with sunlight, then the middle of the cow should be a little bit lighter than the rest. So I'm going around the edges and adding some of that depth of color around the main piece as well. Even though I want to keep this piece lighter, I'm just going to hit those edges, and also the ink kind of brings out the texture of the die cut so that you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to zoom back out and I'm going to add, so the lava rock looks good, but I feel like I need even more dimension there. So I'm going to bring in black soot from Distress Oxide Colors. And this black soot might be my most used Distress Oxide color. And it's because it adds perfect shadows to things. So it's a pretty neutral black type color, a soft black, and you can add it over things to create darkness even if you want to still maintain the color. So see how I'm adding that black to what I've already done with a little bit of brown, and it's just giving it a nice shadow look. So keep this in your stash. Black soot from Distress Oxide might be one of the most valuable colors in that in that pack, at least to me. Okay, let's do a build montage. We're going to put this little guy together. And a build montage is a funny thing if you watch Mark Rober. He's an engineer and he always does a little quick build montage. So we're going to put on this beautiful little horns, which is that lighter color paper. We used the suede paper for the face. The nice thing about these die cuts is they make an impression, so you'll be able to see where to put the nose and the eyes later. Plus, it just gives all that detail. Next, my favorite part of this cow, that's the extra little fur on the top of his head that makes him such a nice little fluffy cow. I can't remember what these cows are called in real life, but they're so cute. I see them on Instagram all the time. This is what I call the floof, and I call it the floof because my dog has this same kind of hair right here that just kind of fluffs up at the front, and it just makes him look so cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we'll put the floof on. Now he needs his legs and his tail put on too. So I have a little idea on this. You could use some like double-sided adhesive to do these, but they connect in a very small area, the little legs and tail do. So I used a little small amount of glue and I just put it on the back side and then I put the little legs and tail right where they go. And I do this because I like the freedom to adjust the cow and adjust the little legs. If I've got double-sided adhesive or something like that, it's a little harder to move it around if you're off. Okay, now that we are finishing these final touches, you definitely need some tweezers or some little tools to kind of help you pick up these small pieces. If you have been watching along to do the video hop, make sure that you include in your comment either a cow emoji or the word cute. Okay, those two things are what you need to enter the giveaway, and we will notice, don't worry, in the comments if you've got that, and have you entered into that giveaway for the $50 gift cards that are being given away by Honeybee Stamps. So I'm going to finish this guy up, and then you are going to see how amazing this looks on this background. And it's so simple. So we've got the main part of our card done. We do need to stamp a sentiment, but our background is unbelievable. And it's just a piece of pattern paper. This is our cow on a piece of white paper. Now look at this pattern paper. This is the freebie from Honeybee Stamps, and it's perfect. He looks so good, and I don't have to do but one thing to this background. So easy just to stamp a cute sentiment, and that is it. So I'm going to use the new sentiments titled Howdy Y'all. So I always hold my sentiment stamps up over the card, and I usually look for something that's the right shape, that makes sense, that I like the sentiment, and this one was, I hope you have an utterly fantastic day. Do you get nervous when you're stamping on this is the only piece of this paper that I have, and I do not want to mess it up. So I usually grab what's going to be in the front, make sure I've lined it up where I want. Then I get a little bit even more OCD, especially on sentiments like this. I want to make them straight so that I don't have a crooked sentiment. So I usually use my T ruler and make sure that I have it lined up in a nice straight line. If I don't, then I can always readjust and get things exactly as I want. Then you can pick this sentiment up, stamp it with the stamp wheel. I even left, I was able to remove that ruler real quick, and it gives you this perfect look. Now, I did add some 1 millimeter, which means that's how thick it is, 1 millimeter, which is not a huge amount because I don't want this card to be too bulky, but it gives this little cow a little bit of lift. So I'm going to remove the adhesive backing of that. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the adhesive backing just so I have the ability to slide this around with my placement. All of the products that I use will be listed in the description. I also will have a pinned comment with the links. So if you're going shopping at Honeybee, please consider using my affiliate link. I will also put the next video in the hop in the description. So you'll be able to click into that description, find that video, and head on to the next person on the design team. I appreciate you being here. Let's look at this final card once I put this little cute cow on here. And I'm going to pop back in and just tell you a couple of things and show you this card face forward and kind of put it up to the camera so you can see it that way as well. Sometimes I think the different lighting kind of helps you out. But I think this guy turned out adorable, and I hope your day is utterly fantastic as well. So let me pop in. All right, so did you love this card? Doesn't it just look like I did so much effort, yet nothing? I mean, it's just so much easier. It's just a lot of die cuts. I wish you could feel the furry texture and this suede feel here. It is so cute. Make sure if you haven't done it yet, to enter the giveaway, you need to include the word cute or a cow emoji. One of those two things. Let me know that you watched the video till the end. So make sure you do that for me, and make sure you let this video play all the way. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I will see you soon back on my channel with more honeybee cards. We're going to be looking at embossing folders and masculine cards in my next video. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you see that. Have a great day. Here's some other videos that might be interesting to you.